Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce, where we review and discuss your and our favorite comedy films. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, on this program, first in the Northern California Bay Area, world-famous juggler Greg Larson. How you doing, Greg?
I am great. I've got a new Jay and Silent Bob jersey on its way. So life
excellent.
is good in spite of Jon Lovitz. So how are you, Ozzy?
I'm good. We're going to need to get into that for those that are unfamiliar with the situation that you're referring to. Also with us, ladies and gentlemen, Flesh Wound producer Todd. How you doing, Todd?
I'm chilling. I'm also curious. I know there's the Jon Lovitz beef, but I don't know the story. So
okay, well, Greg, I'm guessing you know the story. Should we tell this beforehand or after? I think it should be more an after thing. Actually, let's get into the review of the movie. We'll get into this Jon Lovitz stuff afterward, huh?
All right.
Sound good? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So this week we are reviewing and discussing High School High, which was released on October 25th, 1996. Todd, do you have a trailer available?
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing that lasts in the power. I've been in my hand.
Somewhere out there's a kid crying, "Show me a consonant. Teach me pi r squared." Like thirsty little sponges, just waiting to soak up knowledge.
Our assistant principal is still missing.
Oh, brother, 24 carats, $24.
Oh, no thank you, I already have a I know it's deaf. What's whack? What's straight up booty?
How was your first day?
Not bad.
Power and the money and the power.
Now, this is your textbook for the semester. They open like this.
You're no different from everybody else. I mean, most of the boys I know just want to stare at girls' breasts. You know what I mean?
Sorry, what? Don't you think the kids would enjoy a nice song with a melody?
What you got, Holmes?
Like a rhinestone cowboy. I think I may be reaching that.
did you notice the chalkboard was different?
yes, I did. It said bozo instead of another word with two O's. So that was the trailer for High School High, again released on October 25th, 1996, with a runtime of 86 minutes, rated PG.
That's a runtime.
That's a runtime indeed. Directed by Hart Buckner, written by David Zucker, Robert Lokash, and Pat Proft. I wanted to highlight some things about this writing team. Now, it's advertised in the trailer from the homies who brought you Naked Gun. So David Zucker serving as a writer on all three of the films. However, Pat Proft served as an associate producer on the second, Smell of Fear, and served as a co-writer in 33 and a Third, The Final Insult. However, he also has credits in both Hot Shots 1 and Part 2. So, and Robert Lokash has co-writing credits with CB4. So a great team.
Lokash. It's right there.
The beginning was, I mean, I think it was almost I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Initial thoughts on this. I remember seeing this in the theater in the 7th grade, and I think at the time that I saw it, I was 12 at that time at the theater, and I had fun. I had a good time, but I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as I did this go round, for reasons that I'll get into shortly. Greg?
Yeah, this film I remember enjoying the first time I saw it. So when it was brought up, I was excited to check it out, and there's certain things that have dated themselves for sure. And also my feelings of Jon Lovitz have changed since when I originally started it. But whether someone's a crap person and good at what they do are two very separate things. So I do have to say I was excited to see some Jon Lovitz comedy while going back into this.
And Todd, before I have you jump in with your initial thoughts, I did forget to mention this is starring Jon Lovitz, Tia Carrere, and Mekhi Phifer as well. Todd, go ahead.
I don't think I actually saw this on in theaters, 96.
Really?
You know, you used to get the tapes from the homies back then. It was a little different, so I might have seen it at home around the theatrical releases, all I'm saying. But
That's funny.
90s, yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it the first time. It wasn't until probably about 2 years ago I rewatched it, and it like really just fired on all cylinders from that point on. So when we finally decided to do it for the show, I was excited because there's a lot of things I didn't notice from my early viewings, maybe because it was a shitty copy, but a lot of the background jokes in this are like on par with Airplane, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Tons of background stuff that rewards you if you're really paying attention. That's always it happened a time or two in Naked Gun as well. So in terms of funniest moments, I think hands down there was one single line that as soon as it was said, I immediately wrote this down and starred it as this right here is my absolute favorite. It's when, why are you late? Well, because the bell rang before I got here.
I knew it.
When that line happened, it reminded me, it felt like such like the Spicoli line of, well, sir, if I'm here and you're here, isn't this our time? It kind of had like that smart ass sense, but still like, hey, dang it, they got a point here. You know, it had that same vibe, and the delivery and just the space in between once the line was said and just moving on was like just perfect. Absolutely cracked me up.
And you know that if you're ever in a situation, you're like, I'm keeping that one in my back pocket for later.
And I think that's also another thing. At age 12, it's like, okay, you know, I just started junior high, but now at age, you know, whatever, after I might have been late to some things a couple times, that really hit home with me. So there you go. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure most will possibly know what my favorite part of it is. There's very few times in like live action movies that you can have a cartoon-esque moment and have it like not like still feel like reasonable and not too outlandish. And stepping on a floorboard and having it smack him in the face was just so Looney Tunes that I enjoyed every second of it.
Absolutely. Todd?
I wrote a few down, but I got to go with the one that made me laugh the most this time watching it. When they're in a bit of an argument, he's like, how'd you like me to stick this breadstick up your ass? Jon Lovitz's response is, I'm sure it would taste better if you didn't. And that I was like, yeah, that's funny. That's Jon Lovitz. So
one thing that I never really paid much attention to, but this time it really stuck out, is when he's handing the record to the DJ, he's wearing white gloves.
yes.
Just to add an extra level of, I care this much about this record that I'm wearing these gloves. Something that totally wasn't necessary at all, but just that having just added that extra bonus. So when he starts scratching it, when he reacts to it, it's a little bit extra because he's wearing freaking gloves to handle this record. So that's a brilliant touch right there.
And the DJ is played by Ricky Harris, who's a famous comedian who passed.
Rest in peace. So yeah, but tons of the background humor and attention to detail like that kind of sets it, in my opinion, a little bit above what your standard comedies would say. I mean, the opening, the beginning, and the clear parody of Stand By Me, Lean on Me, Dangerous Minds,
The principal. That's one that most people don't catch. That's the baseball bat reference.
Right. I think one could watch this and get lost in its humor without even realizing what they're parodying.
Like Airplane.
Right. Exactly how I was going to bring up. Like, you didn't need to see Airport to appreciate Airplane, but you could, but it's a bonus right there. And by age 12, I hadn't seen some of those other movies yet. So getting those under my belt and rewatching this, like, okay, I like it better now. It's a bonus. For me, Zucker, this whole crew is in my wheelhouse of slapstick. I can't give this anything less than a 5 because of how much I enjoyed it. The run times were exactly where I want it. Just jam it with some jokes. And what I did also appreciate is that it wasn't just, I mean, you still had the cliched story of the teacher wanting to help.
Right.
And you still, I mean, I don't know about Greg, but you still kind of cared that you wanted him to see him accomplish his goal.
I kind of like that the reason they all kind of turned on him was because they all kind of inadvertently committed a heinous crime. It started a forest fire. The annual LA forest fire, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, it feels about right.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
5 for me. I can't recall if I said that, but
You
go
did.
ahead.
Yeah. So I've always enjoyed this film. I thought it was fun. I think that some of the stereotypes of some of the characters are a little bit more pronounced in this current climate, so part of it's it's a little weird.
I asked myself, is this racist now? When I was
right, and I was like, I don't know if this, but everything works out well and it's good, and it's a fun ride. It's got an awesome soundtrack through parts of it. It's got a lot of funny moments and a good wrapped up story. So I agree. It's a 5. It's a fun flick that will always bring a good laugh.
I like how they could only afford the Coolio song for the trailer. Because they're actually, when he's changing the radio, it's a Spice One song. I do own the soundtrack for this, and there was a few I did enjoy. And it's funny though, some of them I listened back to those songs, I was like, was this a parody? And I didn't realize it then. But I'm not as high as you guys. I'm a 4.5.
Well,
poor choice of words.
But this does lead into my question before we get to Greg's, because this is a Hood parody. This or Don't Be a Menace, which you think is and I'll be honest, that's the reason I can't give this a 5, because I'm Menace.
Yeah,
Don't Be a Menace.
I mean, while both are good, I would lean Menace.
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah, and yet that one doesn't come off racist because it's not Zuckers. So I think the Wades do it. I don't think the Zuckers can make it now just because it wouldn't play well. I don't think there was,
And ironically enough, Zucker took over for the Wayans after Scary Movie. Interesting.
And they weren't as good then, but that's a different story when we get to those. Maybe not. Maybe
cross that bridge when we get to it. Charlie Sheen was involved, so there is that. So moving forward, Greg, I want to get to this this Jon Lovitz story here.
Yeah, so summed up, Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman did have a podcast at one point that was in a comedy club owned by Jon Lovitz. And there's many sides to the story. Some feel that they ended up not paying Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman for a lot of them, and then ended up not allowing them to use the property at one point in time. And then Jon Lovitz, I guess, had spent a bunch of money unwisely, and then he also blames the manager. But they basically were one of the biggest draws of that comedy club, and some think it was jealousy of Lovitz getting, that Kevin Smith was getting such attention. Some feel that it was just poor management. So there's a lot of stories as to the whys, but they ended up having to settle out of court, but Kevin at one point was just like, yeah, he was just kind of a dick about it, and not paying people who had been performing and drawing crowds for quite some time,
It's
So
I think back to that scene in Rat Race when he's walking around with a quarter inside the casino and he goes up and oh, $1. Yeah.
right.
I have to pay you. Ew.
So that is why I'm repping my Smodcastle Cinema jersey for today. But since then, I think post heart attack, Kevin's kind of let go of a lot of those things, and he's like, there's better things to waste my time on. So,
Right.
But that's kind of the short story of it all.
All right, now I'm caught up on that, and I know the beef.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I applaud you for remaining objective and giving this a fair score. And I'm not just saying that because you gave it the same score that I did, but you clearly didn't mark it down for any of those reasons.
The Cosby Show's still a funny show, and I love Michael Jackson's music, so it's
Michael Jackson was never convicted of a single crime.
That is fair. That is very
I do
fair.
not like his name. The man made Thriller. I don't want to hear that in the same breath as Bill Cosby.
But Bill Cosby made Ghost Dad, so
yeah, but he got convicted. So every time I push Ghost Dad, Ozzy's like, "No, we can't do that on Farce."
Sorry. Maybe if they finally cast him for the remake of Sleeping Beauty, we'll see.
There's a reason why Leonard Part 1 through 5 couldn't come out. They all contain crimes.
Using Bill Cosby as Prince Philip.
He'd get me with the pudding pop, so it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
sitting on the horse, putting that face.
All right. Well, on that note, unfortunately, if you do want to check out this film, High School High, as of August 11th, it is only available for rent or purchase wherever you consume your favorite digital content. If you're a huge fan of Airplane, Naked Gun, Hot Shots, you will be a fan of this. So if you like to, the renting is $4, the buying is $10. It's tough.
You can get it on Blu-ray pretty cheap too. Blu-ray's pretty cheap.
Well, there you go. You can get the Blu-ray as well. Chances are you're not going to get any special features with this one.
Budget
Todd, I actually am curious about this. If a movie is if a movie is less than 90 minutes, what's the likelihood that they'll have bonus features on their Blu-ray?
It doesn't matter. Army of Darkness is 82 minutes, and that Mother Mucker has more extra features than
I understand
between
that.
like 8
However,
versions.
That has also a cult following to it.
Well, that's really what defines how many extras it gets, how much of a following it's gotten.
So I wonder if this movie had a following, High School High, what kind of things would be on the Blu-ray?
I want that Jon Lovitz sit down interview.
Okay, so here we go. Let's just just for fun's sake, let's construct this Ultimate Edition Blu-ray High School. I almost said High School Musical. High School High Blu-ray package we're building together. We could do whatever we want. So clearly commentary's in, right? That has to be for sure, right? You would have this interview with Jon Lovitz. You'd have the trailer. And what else would we have?
You got to get Tia Carrere. So
yeah,
gotta interview her.
Yeah.
There's no way we're getting Louise Fletcher. I don't know. Commentary, some deleted scenes would be nice. There's obviously alternate takes, because I also noticed that the in the trailer the malt liquor sign wasn't. I couldn't tell if it was blurred or just replaced.
Oh, I couldn't tell
on
either.
the malt liquor vending machine, which I was like, damn.
I think the fact that it was caged helped.
Yeah, that was solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our review for High School High. Feel free to check it out if you do wish. And if you are in the Southern California area this week, I will be hosting Trivia Monday at the Rush Bar and Grill in Lake Forest, 6:30. Tuesday at the Brewery in Placentia at 7 o'clock. And Wednesday at Los Alamitos at Griffin's Grill, beginning at 7:30. Always free to play and prizes for the talent-winning teams. Feel free to check that out. Do you guys have anything else before we head out for the evening? Apologies.
Just a quick comment about the Raiders. It stinks. Sorry, critic reference.
I'm not surprised. I can guarantee that you are upset because during the Raiders and Cowboys game, no blimp crashed into the stadium, eliminating both teams from the league. So I know that if that did not happen in one fell swoop, getting rid of the Raiders and Cowboys, you are in a less than optimal mood, because I know that's the best case scenario for you.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's about right.
Yeah. Todd?
Oh.
Yeah, anything? Nothing? Stay tuned for more Flesh Wound content on the Flesh Wound Features YouTube channel. And of course, thank you for all of our Spotify listeners. Anywhere where you enjoy your podcasts, feel free to check out the YouTube version as well if you are so inclined. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. For world's famous juggler Greg Larson and Flesh Wound producer Todd, I'm Ozzy V, and we'll see you next week right here on a brand new episode of Flesh Wound Farce.